It is the largest treasure trove of information ever obtained by a media organization. Secret records and files, 160 times larger than the WikiLeaks cables, have been made public as of 6 p.m. Eastern today. Records detailing the secret offshore holdings of politicians, business leaders, and companies in more than 170 countries and territories have been uncovered in a joint media investigation led by the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists. Joining us now with the details, we have HuffPost Washington Bureau Chief Ryan Grim coming to us today from New York City. Hey, Ryan.
Hey, how you doing, Jacob?
Good to see you. So, Ryan, what sort of information are we talking about here? Where did all of this data come from? The article that HuffPost is probably publishing right now mentions emails, account ledgers, and other files.
Well, we just put it up. It should be live on our front page by now. I just tweeted it out at Ryan Grim. We don't know. Huffington Post was not part of the reporting with regard to this project. We're partners with Center for Public Integrity, which ran the operation, and so and they're an open source publication, so they allow any media outlet to publish it. That's one of the great virtues of a lot of these nonprofit journalism outlets, is that they're not in it for page views or to try to attract corporate sponsors. They're just in it to do good journalism that their funders want. So hopefully the interests of the world line up with the interests of their funders. In this case, I think they certainly do. So we've published the story. So we don't know exactly where this came from, but it is just a massive unloading of a cache of documents that exposes the complex trails that the elite around the world use to hide their money, and it doesn't just expose it. Doesn't just expose the patterns, it exposes a lot of very particular people.
And I want to ask you about that, Ryan. Here's the headline right now, and you can go into the resource well. We're going to push it into the resource well right now, so you can all go and take a look at the article. Secret Files Expose Offshore's Global Impact. What are the ramifications, Ryan? I'll ask you about some of the bold-faced names in a minute, but what are the ramifications of this information coming out into the public domain?
The best you could hope for is that this embarrasses enough governments that they get together and do something about it. Offshore tax havens are an existential threat to governments as we know them. The way and the speed with which you can move capital around the globe undermines governments' abilities to fund themselves. It's as simple as that. Right now, the United States government and other governments are able to collect enough revenue from their populations to function. But as inequality continues to yawn and wealth continues to roll up to the top, and the top 1% continue to find these ways to hide their money, then that fundamentally changes the government's ability to offer basic services as it does today. So cracking down on this is genuinely an existential question for governments around the world.
Who are some of these bold-faced names, Ryan, that stuck out to you in the reporting from the investigation?
Well, they found Mark Rich's wife, with
Denise Rich,
something like $144 million stashed in the islands. He's the one that famously lobbied for a pardon for himself and got it, though. You have Imelda Marcos's relatives. So, the government there wants to know, what was this money that was stolen from the people? You have a ton of Russian oligarchs who are stashing their money there. More than 100,000 individuals, which is getting pretty close to not all of the people who are in this category, but it's a surprisingly small number of people who own an extraordinary amount of the globe's wealth. And so if you've snared 100,000 plus of them, that's a significant chunk of all of the people who are operating in this way.
Ryan, you mentioned that this practice makes it hard for governments to fund themselves, but what are the ramifications for ordinary people, the American taxpayers? Is it fair to say we're paying higher taxes because of the report? There's potentially something like up to $1.6 trillion a year in lost taxable revenue?
Well, no, I mean, there's no question about it. To the extent that deficit hysteria drives conversation around cutting spending and raising taxes, then the American people are suffering as a result of this. If you can't get money from the rich, then you're going to get money from somebody. you're going to get money from people who don't know how to move it around the globe or don't have the means to move it around the globe. These folks that work out of the Caymans and the Bahamas, they don't want somebody's $40,000 401k. You have to have something like 5 million or so just to make it worth their while to set something like this up. So right, the governments are going to go and find the money where they can, and that's going to be in transactions, sales taxes and taxing the incomes of actual working people.
And finally, Ryan, we mentioned up top WikiLeaks. We've seen what happened to Bradley Manning for leaking the WikiLeaks documents. Is there any way to know what the fate of the whistleblowers in this case will be?
I hope that they never find out who this person is for their sake. You don't want to be on the bad side of Russian oligarchs and the global elite, the 0.1% of the global elite. That's so we'll see. It remains to be seen where this goes from here.